A very good evening to you, ladies and gents, and welcome back to the Q8 Pilot Channel. It is 1700 Zulu, 2000 hours local time here in Kuwait City, Kuwait. Today we are going to be doing something a little bit different than what we're accustomed to for the past, I don't know, very long time. We are today going to be revisiting this rather controversial subject of the showdown between Microsoft Flight Sim and X-Plane 12. Now, I am not here to, to start a war of any sort. What I aim to do in this live comparison is really to show you what X-Plane can deliver and what Microsoft Flight Sim can deliver to us flight simmers, and what are some of the strong points in each sim, and my, of course, own Q8 pilot opinion on both simulators, where I think they excel and where I think they lack. We are going to be using, for the most part, default scenery, default aircraft. I do not want to get into the payware add-ons, because I think once you get there, I think the plain vanilla sim, you will not really have a clear picture, a clear idea of what the sim can delivers out of the box. So yes, with add-ons, I think we can make both simulators look great. But today I really want to show you what both sims can deliver out of the box, the plain vanilla. So we're not going to be taking a look at, the Toluses of the world or the PMDGs of the world. We're going to stick to everything default in order to compare apples to apples. We are going to begin today with X-Plane 12. We're going to be taking a look at the aircraft. We're going to take a look at the weather system. We're going to have a few words about performance as well. And then we are going to do the same with Microsoft Flight Sim. And I will provide you, of course, with my commentary and my remarks and insights. And I hope that by the end of today's stream that you guys will have a clear idea of what those two great sims can deliver to us flight simmers. Want to welcome all of you guys in chat. I hope you guys are well. I will be answering questions at various parts of various segments of the stream, if you will. So definitely I will be taking your questions and providing you with feedback where I can. All right. So for the very first test that we're going to do, we are going to be loading, we are already loaded, X-Plane 12 in the default Cessna 172 at Lima 52, one of my favorite places to test aircraft. And Lima 52 is Oceano County in the state of California. Now, the first thing you will notice in X-Plane, this is X-Plane 12.3, and this is the latest beta. So this is beta 2. And what you'll notice immediately is, and I think this is where an area where X-Plane really excels, is the depiction of weather. And you can see now we have overcast conditions with a little bit of fog there in the distance, and the scene looks really, really very, very immersive. I mean, if you don't mind the unrealistic textures here, overall, this is a very convincing scene, and the weather looks really, really good. If we look here also at the water simulation in X-Plane, I think it is really very, very good. And maybe in some areas it doesn't. So the depiction of like blue oceans is not something that X-Plane does well, in my opinion. But overall, I think the water at a distance looks really good. The reflections are good. You can see the reflections of the trees there. So I think it does look really good. Now, in terms of the vegetation, I think this is something where X-Plane has made a lot of strides in bringing 3D generated vegetation with a lot of variety. And as you can see here, those trees look reasonable. They are not super realistic. They do move with the wind as well, so that is always a plus. And if you look at the cityscape here near the house, you can see that the soundscape in X-Plane is done very, very well. So you can actually hear the cars moving This is, it sounds like a suburban area where you hear the sounds of the cars, a quiet neighborhood here. And you can see also that the graphical assets in X-Plane are actually not that bad. They are anything but realistic, but they are very representative of what you'd expect to see in this part of the world. For example, in the US, this is pretty much something that that looks pretty much like U.S. homes, U.S. neighborhoods. It follows the kind of the grid system. It's not exactly 100%, but it'll pass. Now, moving to, since we are talking about, I'm going to move up to the upper layers there, and we're going to take a look again at the sky color and the clouds here. You can see perfect representation of overcast conditions. You can see here the cloud smoothing near the mountaintops. This looks really good and very well done in this version of X-Plane. So I think in terms of the weather, X-Plane has really made some strides, and they have finally nailed the weather representation in X-Plane is really very well done here. It's just a close-up here, as you can see here on the mountaintops. The sky color, very realistic in X-Plane. I really like it a lot. I think it is very immersive, especially for IFR flights. I think it really does bring this sim to next level, especially with the next update. You can see some artifacts there as I move the mouse, but overall, very convincing. Clouds, the METAR representation is done very well. So the meteorological data is very accurate for one, and two, the actual representation of this meteorological data in X-Plane, I think, is done very well. Now, moving to the airports in X-Plane. This is a default airport in X-Plane, and if you look at all the default airports in X-Plane, they actually look really good. One of the things I really appreciate in X-Plane is the fact that the ground layout or the airport layout is pretty much spot on any airport, like over 5,000 airports. They do have a scenery gateway, and the scenery gateway has been there since the inception, I think, of X-Plane, maybe X-Plane 10.34. I think since then the gateway was there, and it's constantly updated and corrected, and now you have over 5,000 airports that actually look very good out of the box. Now, this is not Oceana County Airport, but it looks very similar to it. Definitely the ground marking and the actual layout looks like Lima 52. It's not exactly, the assets are not exactly the same, but very plausible if you ask me. So very good for a default airport. It looks really good. By the way, we are testing now in real time and real time and real weather. Okay. Now, we are going to come here and look at one of the default aircraft in X-Plane 12. Now, this is the default Cessna 172, and as you can see, the texturing of the aircraft and the modeling of the aircraft is actually done to a very high standard. Not exactly the highest fidelity possible. If you zoom in, you'll see some imperfections there on the aircraft fuselage and textures. But actually, this is a really good looking aircraft, considering that this is default. So, and there's a ton of aircraft in X-Plane. So if you go to configuration here, and let me just go to Laminar Research. So you have a lot of aircraft there for X-Plane that are just completely default. They come with the sim by default. We'll take a look at some of those a little later, and we'll load up some of the ones I feel are really worthy. One of which is this Cessna 172. I think it's a very well done aircraft in X-Plane. So what we're going to do now, folks, is we are going to start the aircraft from its golden dark state. Now, the interior of the aircraft is, again, not bad, considering this is default aircraft. I think it's done very well. The modeling is nice. The texturing is nice. And there are better aircraft, actually, in terms of the texturing in X-Plane. So this is an aircraft that has been ported from one version of X-Plane to the other, and but it still, I think, looks very good. So the neighborhood just west of Lima 52, as shown earlier, shows the streets laid out correctly, but most homes are 2 stories, and those are not shown in X-Plane 12. Otherwise, the map looks accurate. Thanks very much for Stan. I appreciate that. I think in X-Plane, the United States is probably one of the most accurate spots, even in VFR conditions. I mean, yeah, you don't have realistic textures, but I think the layout, the trees and all that is very, very close to what you would expect to see in real life. So let's go ahead and fire up this aircraft. Beacon lights are on, mixture full rich, crack the throttle, and the beacon lights are on. We're going to make sure that the parking brake is set and clear prop. And we can start the engines here. We need the batteries. There we go. And we have a good start. Taxi lights on. Avionics. The sounds are actually very nice in X-Plane, F-Mod sounds. We are going to be using XP Realistic in both sims today. So we have this on. Let me turn on the transponder. The default X-Plane 530 or Garmin devices are actually very functional. They do the job. They're actually very accurate, and they are feature rich as well. So anything you expect on a 530 you'll find on the X-Plane Garmin devices. So in terms of the avionics, I think they've done a good job as well. So you can definitely put your plans here. You can do the navigation display. So anything that you expect to see on the real Garmin device, you can definitely expect to see here as well in the X-Plane avionics suite, both on the 430, the 530, and we'll also take a look maybe at their Airbus A330, which is the flagship for X-Plane 12. Okay, we are ready to go, and we are going to set flaps 10, and we are going to release the parking brake and head over to the runway. Let's see here. Okay, so all is good here. Parking brake is released. And now one of the things, let me show you just one thing here. I want to hit the brakes. Now with X-Plane, the ground physics is something I have a lot of appreciation for. And you can see here how the aircraft behaves as we apply the power. So it does take a little bit of time for the aircraft to gain. Let me go over the... all right. So here, when we go into the this area, the dirt area, this is where I think that it's probably not exactly right, because I have to go almost full throttle to get the aircraft moving. So I think the ground physics over dirt runways and taxiways is probably not exactly right, but I could be mistaken. It's just my hunch. Okay, so we're going to make the turn here, and we're going to go landing lights on, taxi lights off, and we're going to turn on the strobes, and we are now ready to go. Okay, so let me line up the aircraft here, runway 11, and let's make the turn. All right, there we go. Okay, ready to go. Release the parking brake, and let's go. All right, so I'm giving a little bit of right rudder here, and that's because of the winds. So just a little bit of right rudder there to keep the aircraft center line. We're going to wait for 60 knots and rotate. Very, very nice. And we're going to begin the turn. You can see, again, you have moving trains in X-Plane. That looks really good. You can see the overall scene in X-Plane, while not photoreal, is actually very, very nice and very immersive, especially with the new weather changes there. You can definitely see the traffic here moving along, and you can see that this is actually not a bad looking scene. You can see the homes clearly, you can see the vegetation clearly, and you can see all the roads there with the traffic moving very realistically, thus creating a very convincing scene. So overall, I think this is really, really good. And I'm very pleased actually with what I'm seeing here. Very immersive experience there with X-Plane. We're going to try to keep it nice and low here because we're going to head back to Lima 52 and land the aircraft again. So we're just going to make the full turn, head over to the sea there and come back and land the aircraft. But this is just really to give you guys, you know, a quick overview of what things look like in X-Plane. As you can see here, this is a very convincing scene. It's not a bad looking scene in any by any standards. Yes, it's not, you know, realistic. That I definitely I give that when it comes to X-Plane, but I think it's very plausible. All right, one thing I'd like to do, and I want to show you because I think X-Plane really does very well, is when we stall this aircraft, we're not at a safe altitude, but let's go ahead and try it anyway. So I'm going to retard the throttle, and I'm going to pitch the aircraft up here. We're going to lose. There we go. There we go. And there you have it. That is a very... There. Yeah, that's not a safe altitude, but what has happened here is something that you need to see. All right. So if you look here, what has happened when we crash the aircraft is you actually can see the fire and the smoke. So the damage in X-Plane is actually depicted properly with fire, with smoke, and this is the same thing actually goes for example, when you lose a landing gear, and you'll actually see the sparks coming from the metal hitting over the maybe we'll try to simulate that in a different scene here. Let me start a new flight, and this time we're going to gain some altitude, and I want to show you how this aircraft actually stalls. So let's go ahead and say start a new flight, and maybe we'll just put it on the runway. But yeah, but this is one of the things I really like about X-Plane, is that the damage control in X-Plane is extremely realistic. So when you want to actually simulate, let me just change this here, start a new flight. What? My bad. Okay, so let me go to change here. We're going to change the location, customize. We'll put it on runway 11, just to kind of save time. Okay, so this is one of the things I really like in X-Plane, which is the failure system. The failure system of X-Plane, by the way, can be accessed from your flight menu. So if you go here and you say edit failures, and now you have a host of failures that you can tweak. So you can do bird strikes, you can do bird strike engine 1, engine 2, runway lights are not operational. Then you can go to the systems of the aircraft and you can fail your autopilot, controls, DI system, electrical equipment, landing gear, just about every part of the environment that you fly in and every part of the aircraft systems and flight controls can be faulted in X-Plane. And you can set this to be always working, failed, well, when Control F is pressed, fail at exact altitude, fail at speed. It really gives you very granular control over, you know, the kind of situation that you want to create. If you want to, for example, train, or you want to test your skills, or you just want to have fun, but you want to have, you know, a challenging fun. X-Plane provides you a very easy user interface, very user-friendly user interface to manipulate the system in exactly the way that you want in order to create the experience that you're seeking. So we're going to very quickly now just turn everything on here, and we're going to take off again. So let me go ahead and start the aircraft. We're going to turn on our avionics strobes. Landing light is good. Okay. And we don't need, actually we do need the flaps because this is a really short runway. So we are going to, let me see here. Let me just give it full throttle here. And we're going to release the brakes. Again, definitely some winds there. So we have to apply a little bit of right rudder in order to get the aircraft on the center line. Here we're going to rotate at 60 knots. And there we go, that's 60 knots. Very, very smooth takeoff and really, really nice handling of the aircraft in X-plane. You can see how the wind is tossing us right, left here a little bit. And then let's begin the turn here. All right, we're going to begin the turn here, and we're going to retract our flaps. You can see how the aircraft dips a little bit when we retract the flaps, and this is very accurate behavior, which is very realistic behavior of the aircraft. And this is again thanks to the accurate flight model in X-plane. Okay, so let me gain just a little bit of altitude here. We're going to go to a safe altitude, and then we're going to stall the aircraft a little bit. Let's watch our speed. All right, we are flying parallel to Lima 52 now, and let's just go to about 1,000 feet, and we're going to try this out one more time. Check to make sure that your anti-aliasing setting is not too high. Yeah. All right. So we're back in the clouds here a little bit. So we are going to retard the throttle now, and I'm going to, let's see here. There you go. All right. And there you go. That's again a very, very accurate stall behavior with the Cessna 172. I really, really like this aircraft a lot. And it really is a great trainer aircraft for X-plane. We're going to make a turn and head back to the airport now. The airport is just behind us. So let's make a short turn here and head back to the airport and land the aircraft. And then I'm going to load up another aircraft to just show you some of the default aircraft that are shipped with X-plane that are, I believe, are excellent aircraft, to be honest, considering that they are all default. So this one is definitely an aircraft that you will enjoy to fly in the sim. Personally, I really enjoy the Cessna 172. I think it's really one of the best available in X-plane as a default aircraft. I think it really does the job. And let's see here where we are relative to. I think we've missed the spot there. Let me switch to external view. There we go. Okay. There, that's the runway right there. And by the way, one of the great things about X-plane is the camera system. All right, we're going to extend the flaps for our approach, and that's the runway in sight. Very, very smooth and very nice handling of the aircraft in X-plane. I just really, really love the flight model in X-plane, and I think this is where the sim really, really excels. All right, here we go. And back, look at the clouds again in the distance and the fog. All right, there we go. All right, and we're back on the ground here at Lima 52. Okay. Now, one of the great aircraft, I think, in X-plane is I'm going to go to edit flight, and I want to show you this Cessna citation. Okay, so I'm going to say start a new flight. And we want to load this, and the reason I want to show you guys this aircraft is because I think this aircraft is a really enjoyable part of the X-plane fleet. I think it works really, really well. It's a joy to fly, joy to hand fly, and it has really, really nice textures both inside and out. Look at this, guys. I mean, this is really, for a default aircraft, for a default Cessna citation, this looks really, really good. And listen to those sounds as well. Let me see here if we can go to the battery switches. Again, really, really nice F-mod sounds. And the overall, again, look at the switches here. A very nice aircraft. Maybe we'll do a a flight one day on this aircraft. Again, you can turn it on. Now, this is not study level, by the way, just so that you guys know, but a very enjoyable aircraft that is representative of the Cessna Citation. As you can see here, it looks really, really good in terms of the visuals. Even, oh, look who's in the back. Mr. Myers is in the back. So you can also see that the seats are quite nice. So the texturing, overall texturing of the aircraft is actually done very well. Here is on his Apple computer programming X-Plane 12. Pretty cool, huh? There, very, very nice cabin. And the exterior of the aircraft is actually done very well. So this is, again, a default aircraft that ships out of the box with X-Plane. Look at those engines. Very nice texturing. Overall, I really like the fleet, the default fleet of X-Plane. And so this is a completely default aircraft that comes with X-Plane. Another one that I really like as well is the, let's see here. I want to go to the, you have the Cirrus Vision, by the way, as well, which is a laminar aircraft. So let's go ahead and very quickly bring that on, just so the guys can see it. And then we're going to load a couple of more. Now, one of the things in X-Plane 12 that I really appreciate, guys, is those default aircraft were not just created for variety. Well, they were created for variety, but not for the variety just for the sake of having different aircraft. They were created because each one of these aircraft have a different flight model. And Laminar wanted to really show you how the flight model is very different from one aircraft to the other. And this, by doing this, by creating this many aircraft, default aircraft, you can really test the entire range of flight models available for these aircraft. This is, again, a default SR-22 in X-Plane. And as you can see, it actually looks really, really good with some really nice attention to detail as well here. So we can actually start this, let's see here. Let me go to, there we go, battery and generators. There, so we can again see the displays here. Now this shows you the Garmin 1000, which is again done completely by X-Plane, and I think they have done a really, really good job with the G1000s there. Again, very, you know, it looks, this it's doing the self-test obviously, and yeah, it really looks really, really good. There you go. Let me just switch here to the outside as well, so you can see the high fidelity modeling from Laminar. This looks really good. I have to say that I'm really impressed with X-Plane creating some really very high fidelity models being default. Again, this is really, really cool. Again, this comes as part of the X-Plane purchase, so anything you get, all these aircraft come as part of it. Now, another aircraft that I really like is the Lancair Evolution by Laminar Research. This aircraft is based on Austin Myers' aircraft. So this is actually a depiction of his real aircraft in real life. And this aircraft is, again, a very accurate representation with a completely different flight model. So it flies very different. And this is true for all the default aircraft in X-Plane. Each one of them will fly in a completely different way. So this is, again, the Lancair Meyer Evolution. Again, this belongs to Austin Meyer. Again, very high fidelity representation of the aircraft in real life. It's got a really nice interior, as you can see here. Very nice leather seats. It's really done very, very well. And you can tell that this is probably newer than their X-Plane on their Cessna 172. You can see really the attention to details there and the texturing. And again, you've got your F-mod sound. So all of this is available to you free of charge. Well, not free of charge, but it's part of the X-Plane purchase. So these are all the default aircraft. Again, in terms of the sounds, the systems, I think they're very reasonable for being default aircraft. This particular one is a very enjoyable one. So if you get X-Plane, you'll have access to this aircraft as well. Okay, so now that we have seen some of the aircrafts, I do want to show you something that maybe is very important. So I'm going to go here to the main menu. Now, this is the main menu of X-Plane. When you start X-Plane, you get resume flight, new flight, save flight, load and save, and you've got the flight school. And when you go to a new flight, what I love about X-Plane is the simplicity of the user interface. In everything that you do in X-Plane, I feel that everything has been very carefully thought of. If you click, by the way, this is where you select the aircraft. Very simple way to select the aircraft. You'll see the airliner at the very beginning here. If you scroll down, you'll see the general aviation aircraft. I love how they laid out everything there. And when you purchase an aircraft or download an aircraft for X-Plane, it will automatically categorize it in the right spot. And that's something I really like and appreciate in X-Plane experience, the user experience. You can see here the cargo and the experimental aircraft there, and then you've got your gliders, helicopters, military aircraft, seaplanes, ultralights, and the VTOL. So really in X-Plane, the user experience is really, really very well thought of. Now, if you look here, you can filter the classes. You can filter by manufacturer, by the studio, so laminar, feeless planes, hot start, whatever. And you can also search. You can also select to show aircraft for older versions of X-Plane. So if I click here, you're going to add a bunch of other aircraft, one of which is, as you can see here, the, let me go back up here. So I think the 747 will come as part of the lineup, which, which we're not going to take a look at today. But yeah, you can see there's so many aircraft now. I'm almost lost for, So we're just going to remove this for now because there's just too many of them. So the next thing I want to do is I want to go a little bit here. Before we do that, let's go to the location. Now, from the location, if you say here, you select any airport in X-Plane. Let me pick, for example, Echo Golf Lima, which is London Heathrow. Now, when you go to the customize screen and you zoom in, you actually get all the positions, and when you select a position, it will automatically tell you what kind of equipment this parking position can handle. So for example, position or stand 329, the type is gate, the purpose is airline, size class is E, and the equipment is heavies and jets. If I go, for example, to this one here, let me see if I get something different. All right, so this is, for example, the purpose is cargo, and equipment, heavies, jets, and turboprops can be allocated to this spot. And I think this is something really, really cool. Not only that, you can actually cycle through the different, from the menu here, you can select only runways if that's what you choose to do. And everything is visual, so you can actually see it here. What is also very, very cool and a feature I really appreciate in X-Plane is this one here. So you can actually create a situation where you want to approach runway 09 left, and I want to select a 10 nautical mile approach. And once you do this, it will position the aircraft that you've selected at exactly 10 nautical miles from the airport. This is very helpful if you're trying, for example, to test out, your crosswind landings, or maybe you want to do a special start. Now, a special start is something like there's a takeoff, there's landings, and there's other scenarios. So you've got a dirt strip, gravel, helipad start, carrier, cat shot, bow starboard, or you can do like a carrier approach, frigate approach. You can do a large oil platform approach. This is probably something for helicopters. You can also do formation flying in X-Plane. And all of this is available to you, and you can test it out, and it works really, really well. And again, it really helps you create situations very quickly to match your preference. So now that we've done this, we're going to go here to this menu. And this is, I think, an area, again, where I think X-Plane really excels. The sound menu is very intuitive, very easy to set things up. Your default speakers, whatever, your air traffic control. By the way, ATC and X-Plane is not good still until this day. Now, the graphics here, again, this is also something I really appreciate in X-Plane, is that it's very simple. These are all the different settings that you have. This is cloud, shadow, world object, vegetation rendering. Then you've got the boats and balloons, 3D vegetation. You have the textures rendering, ambient occlusion, and RCAS, entropic filtering, and MSSA anti-aliasing. On this side here, again, very, very simple, and that's it. That's everything there is to it. You've got your network, your data output. Again, this is something very, very useful in X-Plane, is it really allows you to monitor all inputs with ease. So if I wanted to see, for example, the values for pitch, roll, and heading, the only thing I want to do is come here and say show in cockpit, and now you'll see the numbers here. If I want to see the data graph window, I can click here, and you want to output this to a text file, you can. So again, very granular details there, and you can monitor all the parameters in your simulation environment just by clicking here. Data ref reads and writes are also available, so you can either read or write the data refs if that's what you choose to do. Now, from the joystick, this is again something I really like in X-Plane, is when you select, first of all, there's a wide variety for flight sim gear that X-Plane supports, and they support it out of the box. You don't really need any plugins. You just plug and play, and it works. And what I love about it is that it gives you a visual representation of the item. And when you hover, it will actually tell you what this item is here. So if I actually move now the throttle, I can see visually that this is what's been assigned. If I click here, for example, it automatically highlights the auto takeoff go around button here, which is number 5. Again, you can see as I move, it highlights the different sections of the hardware device with the actual controls here. Setting up your controls is very, very easy in X-Plane. So if I go to the yoke here, I've got my yoke, and I can, again, move, as I move it, you'll see it. And what's even better is editing the response curves, guys. This is something I really like in X-Plane. If I click here on the response curve, very easy to do. I can just simply, click on this spot and change it, do whatever until I get that perfect spot, and then things will just be saved for the next flight. It'll be there. Another thing that you really appreciate is the profiles. So I can create multiple profiles for multiple aircraft and then assign them. So I can say manage profiles. Now you can see I have a lot of profiles here. So I can select a new profile. I've done this before, so I just really want to show you the feature. We're not going to go through everything in depth, but once you've created your different profile, then you can assign it to the aircraft. So the Feels, for example, has the user, which is the default profile. But then I have like a twin engine on the 350. I've got the honeycomb throttle on the 738, and so on and so forth. And by the way, one of the things that you'll really appreciate in X-Plane is you can create multiple hardware. So you can have multiple hardware connected, like I do. I have so many things connected. But you can actually, for every aircraft, assign a particular hardware, and you can just ignore the other ones. You don't have to disconnect anything, leave everything connected, just create different profiles with different gear for different aircraft, and then assign that profile to the aircraft. If you guys want a tutorial on that, let me know. Let me take a quick look here at chat and see if you guys have any questions. Night at night, good evening to you. How are you doing, Grand? Glad to have you here, guys. Now it's a matter of taste and preference, and I actually like both, so I don't get the X-Plane is better. I think it is unfair to say that one sim is better than the other for the simple reason that I think they excel in different areas. And so we are going to get to Microsoft Flight Sim today. So right now we are in X-Plane. And now that we've done the joystick here, and I've shown you how this is done in X-Plane, you can do the same thing with the keyboard, and you can assign all the different operations within the keyboard if you're using a keyboard. Accessibility is something is also thought of in X-Plane. This is your, by the way, you can change the G-loaded camera intensity. So if you don't like it, that's for the physics-based camera. If you feel that it's too intense, you can change its intensity here, which I think is, again, a great feature that has been added in X-Plane 0.3. VR hardware, for those who have VR, works really well. I do not have VR, so there you go. From the general tab, you can also select the language. Again, the user interface, this pretty much sums up the user interface in X-Plane, which I think is very, very useful and very intuitive. I think that X-Plane as an experience, so let alone the flying, but the actual experience of setting up X-Plane, configuring your hardware is very simple. And I think it really takes into consideration avid simmers, but it also takes into consideration beginners or somebody who's just starting with X-Plane. All right, there's another thing I'd like to show you in X-Plane, and I'm going to pick a default. I'm going to allow you guys, by the way, to pick the next airport. So if you want a specific airport that you want me to go, we are going to go and load the Airbus A330, because I think this aircraft is worth looking at. We've done recently a flight in it, but let me go and select an airport in. Would it be great to have a tutorial that drills down in the keyboard joystick settings and how to configure it to avoid conflicts, assignments, profiles, etc.? No worries, Stan. I think I agree with you. That would be a good thing to do. I will make a note of that for my next upcoming streams. Okay, EKCH, that's Kastrup Airport in the Denmark. And we are going to come here. Yeah, heavy. Okay, that's fine. And we have confirm. We have, again, that will allow us to take a look. By the way, guys, September 25th, today is my 51st birthday. So I turned 51 today. Okay, so Airbus A330-300, we're going to load that aircraft. Let's say start new flight. And let's load up the Airbus during dusk. I think it's dusk. Yeah, is it? Yeah. And we're going to take a look now at the night lighting also in X-Plane. Thank you very much, Patrick. Appreciate it, my friend. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Thank you, Night at Night. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you all for your congratulations there. Appreciate it. Very kind of you guys. Yeah, I can't believe that it's been 10 years since I started the Q8 Pilot channel. And I really, guys, really would appreciate you spreading the word on my other channel for anybody who's interested in artificial intelligence and tutorials, guides, and news. I have started Genovate, which is my other channel now that I've been working on. All right, so preparing world. Now, in terms of, there you go. Now we have the Airbus A330. And I think, things are a little bit dark here, obviously, because we are, maybe we can change the time here. Let me just change the time a little bit. Let me just say customize. We're going to go to manual, real world time. We'll keep real weather, and we're going to change the time a little bit here. So there we go. We're going to put it right there. All right, flight changes. Maybe that's a little better. And let's just wait a little bit. In this beta, it takes a little bit of time to download the... All right, so we finalized it here. Okay, so now we have the...
3 months now. Should have become a member sooner.
Oh, welcome aboard, my friend. Thank you very much, Jesse, for the channel name is pinned in the chat. So if you click on the pinned message, you'll see the channel there. All right. So one thing that we have to see when we take a look at X-Plane is the Airbus A330, which is the flagship product. Now, this aircraft has some really nice visuals, and it has some in-depth systems as well. And if I click here, APU BAT, I think we need the There we go. We can just request ground power or connect power. There we go. All right. So I just want you guys to listen to those sounds, which I think are really, really good. And this is the Q8 pilot livery. I think one of you guys made this livery for me, and I think it looks really, really good. Probably one of the best liveries that I've gotten from the community. So really nice one. So if I scroll, let me just zoom out here. Now, the reason I came this to show you the Airbus, which is pretty cool, but also you can see the beautiful night lighting in X-Plane. And here you can see the waves. So it really does respect the weather conditions. So, and this is something that you can see here. This is actually a very nice scene here with all those lights. And if I change the time just a notch here, again, look at the night lighting in X-Plane, and you can see there's a boat here. Let's take a look. There you go. Look at that. Look at how cool this is. And you can see the movement of the boat as well on the water there. It looks very, very realistic in terms of, you know, the waves and how it's just making its way there. Very cool. Again, you can see the runway lights from the distance there. They look really, really good. So that's one thing I really appreciate in X-Plane. And you can also see here the fidelity of the default airport. Let me just switch here again real quick. There we go. All right. So I think this is, again, in terms of the layout, this is pretty much like Kastrup Airport. But again, of course, the actual graphical assets could use improvement. But for a default airport, I think looks very good. And the area around Kastrup actually looks somewhat representative of the real world picture. So you've got a lot of buildings here, and then you've got, you know, your airport there. This is the island. I think there is a bridge as well. The bridge may be not depicted properly, but I believe there is a bridge here. So this kind of, there is a bridge there, but I'm not sure. I think it connects to this part, but yeah, it's not shown there properly. But if you were doing an approach at Kastrup, this would be a really, really nice time to make the approach there. So very, very nice in terms of the night lighting, very realistic. And you can see also the traffic there. Very, very nicely done by Laminar there. I think this is their screenshot material right there for you. It looks really nice. I also like the one of the things in X-Plane is the performance. Though X-Plane does not really make very good use of your cores, and it remains to be a single processor sim for the most part, I think even with 35 frames, it's still very smooth. So one of the things I like about X-Plane is set and forget. I don't think that I've ever went back to my sliders since I've, you know, hit that sweet spot for my system and for my preference. And I think I just left it there, and it's always been there. So this is what I wanted to show you in X-Plane. I think we pretty much covered everything in X-Plane. So overall, I think X-Plane excels in the following areas. It excels in the flight model and flight physics, ground physics, in the weather representation and real-world meteorological injection into the sim, the coloring of the skies and the overall environment, the soundscapes are done very well. And I think where X-Plane really lacks is in the real representation of the real world. So showing real scenery, I think this is where X-Plane really fails to deliver. But I think what it delivers today is actually very sufficient for creating an immersion flying experience in a flight simulator. This is my opinion, true opinion of X-Plane. Another thing that I have to give for X-Plane and for the guys over at Laminar is the amount of default airports that look very realistic. So the actual environment, airports, is very important. Runway texture is very important. It's really important that when you land at a default airport, that there's actually some buildings to create that immersive feeling that you have now arrived at a real airport. So this is an area where I think X-Plane really excels, and they have created an excellent a flight simulator today to create a real world experience or near to real world experience on your desktop computer. So overall, I think X-Plane is one fine simulator, and the changes made by Laminar makes it very promising. A few words also on the team at Laminar. The team over at Laminar is obviously they're folks that I have interacted with over the years, including Austin himself, to many of the actual guys that work there. The team seems to have changed over the years, but for some of them are still from the very beginning, or I knew them from the very beginning, such as Julian Lockwood. Julian is the responsible scenery gateway manager over at Laminar. Overall, Laminar is really run like a family business. Those guys work like a team. They work like a family, and they work like a very close family. And I really like them as a company. I like them as individuals. I think they're very helpful. They're very supportive, very down to earth. And I think this is the kind of culture that runs in Laminar. I don't think that Laminar has been very receptive in the past to community feedback. And I think this is one of the things that kept Laminar from really progressing at a rate of speed that we flight simmers demand today. And I think this was kind of one of their fallbacks, if you will. They have changed in recent years, and they have really understood the power of the community feedback. And they have been really addressing things that the community are, talking about. Now, I know some of you may not have that experience, but they have actually created a Discord. They have employed somebody who is very close to the community, Delta, who is somebody that very well known. He is running their Discord server, and I think that they are starting to change. They are starting to listen more to the community, getting their feedback, their features, their wish list, and making them happen in the sim. And for that, I really salute them. I think they're a good company. They were, just to sum up, they are starting to really understand the power of the community feedback, and they're really taking it to heart. This was not there in the past, and I'm glad that they have changed their way. Okay, so what we're going to do now, folks, is we are going to load Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and we're going to repeat what we've done here in X-Plane in Microsoft Flight Sim. So we are going to go to Microsoft Flight Sim here, and then we're going to come here, and we are going to quit X-Plane, and hopefully it quits, because with this beta, sometimes it just stays for some reason. Yeah, Gateway's a very good idea for a small company competing with Microsoft. They're doing really good. Absolutely, John. Absolutely. Thank you very much, my friend. Strike Flight Pilot from Norway. Thank you very much. I will throw one elephant in the room, but XP is also the only solution if you don't use Windows. That is also true. That is also true. Yes. All right. Let me close X-Plane here. And there we go. It's a force close. So, and it's a good time for me to also look at you guys in chat. Let's see. X-Plane 12 default scenery are just perfect. And you can always also feel the weight of the aircraft with X-Plane really well. That's very true. One of the things I really appreciate, guys, in X-Plane is when I, for example, fire up the Cessna 172 and I fly it, it flies very different from, for example, the 152 or from the Cirrus SR-22 or from their Citation jet. So you really feel with every aircraft, you feel how different. The Piper Cub, for example, in X-Plane, amazing aircraft to fly. And it really, you have to really follow what you really do in real life in order to fly the aircraft. Otherwise, it would crash. So icing condition, wind shear, all of these things are depicted. They really done a really good job in 12.3. So it's a sim that I personally enjoy. I know you guys, a lot of you understand that it is my favorite sim, but today I'm trying to be just throw that out of the window for today only, and just remain objective in my a presentation to you guys on both sims. So I think we have now pretty much shown what X-Plane can do. Briefly, again, I don't want this to be a very long stream, but I showed you what X-Plane can do, the highlights of its user interface, its scenery, its aircraft, flight model, and the just overall look and feel of the sim. Now we are going to be taking a look at Microsoft Flight Sim. Microsoft Flight Sim is a franchise that's been there for decades. This iteration is probably the single most advanced of all, using AI, Bing Maps, and so on and so forth. And the first thing you'll see in the main menu is two buttons here. Actually, I'll take that back. There are three of them. You can quit to desktop, accessibility, and start. Let's go ahead and take a look at the start menu. Update World 20 Japan is here, it looks like. All right, continue. We're not going to worry about that now. We'll take a look at that later. Now, very quickly, the menu in Microsoft Flight Sim, while may look simple, it actually is extremely confusing. So especially when you click on the marketplace, you can't search for certain things, tells you to go home and things like that. But I'm not going to look at any of those today. I'll leave it to you guys. I'm going to go to free flight. And this is where all the fun begins. Now, the user interface is definitely very modern. And at first look, it looks pretty simple. So I can click here and it's very easily tells me that this is where I'm going to select my aircraft. And while you can actually select here airplane, helicopter, glider, lighter than air, and other, when you go to airplane, there is no way that you can actually select if you want a dual engine, 4-engine aircraft. All the airplanes will be shown here. There is no way for you to filter them out. So you just have to kind of go there and look for your aircraft, or you search for the aircraft here. Now, for our test today, by the way, we are going to look for the Cessna 172. And if you click here on configure, then it takes you to another menu. Now, in order to do things in Microsoft Flight Sim, the click ratio is very high. So you have to click so many things to get to what you want. And this is, from the visual perspective, I think it's stunning. I think it's beautiful, very modern. Again, they've created everything with the user in mind. So you've got very large font. This is something I really like, and I sometimes really miss having this big font in X-Plane, because everything here is very clear, very easy to read. But there's just so many clicks and menus to go back and forth, which makes things very confusing. And I think I prefer the simplicity of X-Plane user interface over this one, minus the fonts in X-Plane, which I think from the representation, each menu in Microsoft Flight Sim is a lot easier to see. It's a lot easier to visualize, but there's just way too many of them, and that makes it a little bit complicated. So we're going to select here then you can go to the livery and select the livery. Then you can go to the payload. Again, visually very stunning, very nice. And you can then manage mass in EFB. So you can't manage it here, so why have it? Just remove this whole thing, and move it into the EFB in the aircraft. And then, of course, you've got the identification here, which you can change as well, which is pretty cool. Right, let's go to save and back. And while we're in the menu, again, you have to go save and back one more time. And now you have the entire world here. Now, This is something I really like in Microsoft Flight Sim from the user experience perspective. I think they've done a really very smart way of making you, explore the world from within the globe. You can just with your mouse, kind of like Google Earth, which I think is a really, really very smart way of doing it because the world is huge. And so I like everything visual. I'm a very visual person. So a visual representation is just easier for the eye. It's easier for your experience. It gets you to what you want to do quicker. So the saying goes, a word is worth 1,000 pictures, and a picture the experience is worth 1,000 pictures, right? A picture is worth 1,000 words, and the experience is worth 1,000 pictures. So experience is very important. All right. Now, when you go to the menu here, and we're going to select the same airport, Lima 52, and we're going to click here on Lima 52. And this is, again, something I like in Microsoft Flight Sim. What I do not like is when you go here, the ramp positions and the gate positions are just there. They're not accurate, so they do not represent the actual airport in almost all cases, except for those that are hand-built or handcrafted airports. And still, the ground is lacking in Microsoft Flight Sim. But I do like the fact that you can see the map here visually, and you can select your position. We're going to select this one. We're going to set this as our departure. It gives you the visibility, VFR conditions, and we're going to go ahead and select start flight.
Hi, Sam. Loving your very thorough videos. Please keep up the good work. Hope everything is well with you.
Ladies and gents, Jeff Smith coming in with a $50 super chat. Thank you so very much, Jeff. Really, really appreciate that. Very, very kind of you. I really, really appreciate that you're very generous, man. You left me speechless. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you for that. All right. So we are now at Lima 52 in Microsoft Flight Sim. Now, there's this walk around mode, which is, okay. We can do it. I do like the fact that you can do a walk around out of the box. This is something that is not in X-Plane. There are some aircraft that have implemented this, like the 172, but I do like this because it is kind of part of, it's part of the experience of flying an aircraft, is doing the walk around and removing the static elements. All default aircraft in Microsoft Flight Sim have this feature, but not all the payware ones. All right, why is it not allowing me to remove this? There. All right, there we go. All right, so now we can go inside the aircraft, and from the visual perspective, I think Microsoft Flight Sim and Asobo have done a really good job translating real-world images of aircrafts in real life and real sounds into the sim. This is, again, a default aircraft in Microsoft Flight Sim, and I think it's one of the most successful default aircraft in terms of its flight model, in terms of how it looks, in terms of how it sounds. I think they've done a really good job. But before we delve into the flight and the aircraft, I want to just go and show you what things look like in the sim. Now, while the clouds look okay, these are not the actual conditions in Lima 52. And as you can see, in Microsoft Flight Sim, it is almost impossible to see overcast conditions, something very easily done and depicted in X-Plane. But unfortunately, in Microsoft Flight Sim, it is not possible. Also, what I've noticed is that the overall scene in Microsoft Flight Sim, because it uses real-world imaging from satellite imagery, look at the shore here. So this is a static image. You can see the water here, but this is a static image. So this, I think, is just not good. it doesn't look good at all. But overall, Microsoft Flight Sim looks far more realistic when it comes to the visuals. And here in the water, it's okay. And by the way, I'm running everything at max here in Microsoft Flight Sim. So overall, I think it does look really nice, but I think it looks more cinematic than realistic, if you ask me. The saturation is much better in this version, by the way, as opposed to the previous version. Let me make this a little bit faster. There we go. That's a little faster, so we can move around a little faster. You can see the vegetation is really done very, very well in Microsoft Flight Sim. I love flying VFR, nice and slow, because this looks really, really good. I've seen some really amazing scenery. Of course, this is all default, so we're not going to do anything other than default, but look at the grass here, for example. Very, very nice, and you can see again the movement. You can see again the variety of the trees. Look at this is one of the things I really like about Microsoft Flight Sim is look at the water here. Looks really, really good, and you can see this is called bathymetry. I think it allows you to see actually the bottom of the sea. I don't think it allows things to sink though, like X-Plane. So in X-Plane, the bathymetry allows objects to actually sink into the water. But this is, I don't think, everything floats in Microsoft Flight Sim. So not very realistic, but in terms of the visuals, I think it looks really good. Now, why, again, you look here at those rocks and the stones here, it looks just really, really so nice in Microsoft Flight Sim. Very, very realistic. And I think this is an area where it really, really wins, at any time of the day because of the realism that it offers. But again, in most cases, I feel that it is more cinematic than realistic. But nonetheless, it looks really good, I have to say. Let me reset my view here real quick, and we'll go back to the aircraft. Okay, let me go back to the air. All right, so here we are, and we're back here. So this is, I think, where you can see, for example, this Exxon mobile truck there, fuel truck. It looks like a real truck. And I think this is where the power of Microsoft Flight Sim lies. Overall, the world in Microsoft Flight Sim looks closer to real life than in X-Plane. So if that is something that is a priority for you, definitely you are not going to like X-Plane. You're going to find X-Plane to be dated, and you're just going to hate it. Why? Because what you're expecting something that looks like real world. You want to fly near your home, and you want to see something that's very similar. Well, that is not possible in X-Plane, but it is possible in Microsoft Flight Sim. So I think this is a huge, huge thing, and I think Microsoft Flight Simulator is a representation of the use or proper use of high-end technologies to bring flight simulation into your desktop. And I really appreciate what this company has done and all the technology that they have used and brought it into the flying experience of us simmers in Microsoft Flight Sim. Now, if I look at the visuals here, of course, this looks really good. Everything looks like real life. The leather seats, the metal, the little sounds there, again, recorded from the real aircraft. So no complaints in that department. It looks very good. It looks too clean for my liking, but we'll assume that this aircraft was just bought and it's brand new. So from the visual perspective, I think for the cockpit, I think it really depends. So I don't think that the cockpits in Microsoft Flight Sim, generally speaking, are better than X-Plane. I think X-Plane has some really, really very good texturing. Obviously, they are not using photoreal, but if I, for example, compare the PMDG 777 versus the Flight Factor 777, I find the Flight Factor textures much better than PMDG. Although they have access to real-world footage of the aircraft and they can scan real pictures, I still think that some aircraft in X-Plane look better than their counterpart in Microsoft Flight Sim. But that out of the way, this aircraft, by the way, has the circuit breakers model. So this is something we haven't seen in the default Cessna 172 in X-Plane. So let me go ahead and turn on the beacon light. We're going to make sure that we have the tank on both, and the fuel shutoff valve is closed. And then we're going to turn on battery, alternator, mixture full rich, and we're going to crank the throttle here a little bit. And there we go. Very nice sounds. Did it die? No, we have a good start. Right, just needed a little bit of power. And then, don't die on me. All right, let's switch quickly to the outside. There are nice sounds. All right. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to turn on our avionics. Now, one of the things I really like in Microsoft Flight Sim when it comes to the GNS devices is that they are very accurate. They work pretty much, they simulate what happens in real life as far as those devices. And I really like the working title one as well. So I think they really spent some time, you know, refining their Garmin devices. And I think they offer something that is very realistic and very well polished, I think, in when it comes to the avionics. So here, again, you can see the status here of the device. It's searching for the satellite signal, which is pretty cool. I really like that. You can see it here as well. You've got, again, your autopilot. We're going to put this on standby. And overall, I really like the default aircraft in Microsoft Flight Sim, but I don't like most of them. I like some of them, but not all of them. And one of the things I do not like in Microsoft Flight Sim default aircraft is they pretty much fly the same. So there is really no distinction in the flight model. They all fly the same. This one, though, is an exception. The Cessna 172 is probably, and the 152, actually the 172, the 152, I heard some, you know, some mixed feelings on how it flies. But this specific one, the 172, is probably one of the most successful default aircraft in Microsoft Flight Sim. I'm flying with the Zibo, and it feels much better than PMDG. That's very subjective, I agree. Do you know who uses PMDG for their 737 courses? Ben Watts from Mentor Pilot. I really like the detail, planes, textures, scenery, and so forth and so forth. A real-life 737 pilot and instructor, it's good enough for him. Yeah, I think it remains also, even, I think a lot of people find X-Plane to be, you know, the 777 and X-Plane to be more in-depth. And I think it also be the PMDG is a very detailed aircraft, guys, in terms of simulation. It's very detailed. The Flight Factor one's got more systems simulated, but it's still PMDG is PMDG at the end. Do you have the A380 installed? I believe so, yes. I don't think it's updated, but I do have it installed. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to do exactly what we've done in X-Plane. And we are going to take this 172 for a short flight. Now, one of the things I noticed in this version, which is the 2024 Sim Update 3, is that the ground physics are slightly better, and the flight model, generally speaking, is also better in this version. Let us turn on our landing lights and strobes. We are going to set the flaps to flaps 10 for departure. Again, very, very immersive. Look at the grass there on the side. Again, this is the same airport, so this is Lima 52, but in Microsoft Flight Sim. And there you go. We can see again, the marking is terrible on the ground. Very, very bad. In the default airports in Microsoft Flight Sim. Not bad, but they're not great. I prefer the default airports in X-Plane over Microsoft Flight Sim. But the overall scene here is definitely very realistic. minus the clouds and the weather. Again, you can never ever have overcast conditions. It will never ever be there, regardless of the METAR. This is the best you're going to get is you know, thick layers of clouds, you know, kind of condensed clouds. That's the best you're going to get in Microsoft Flight Sim. Okay, so we are cleared for takeoff. We're going to put the throttle maximum power. Now, right now, I'm not using any rudder, and the aircraft pretty much is rolling down the runway. No problems. In X-Plane, the weather component forced me to use a little bit of rudder in order to keep the aircraft on the center line. Again, this is not very realistic at all. So the takeoff in X-Plane, you definitely feel the weight of the aircraft, the nose of the aircraft. When you lift off, you feel it. Here, it's like immediate, and it just goes, and it just jumps. There's as if there's no wind component, and there are no other factors affecting the aircraft. So, but this remains again one of the best default aircraft in Microsoft Flight Sim. Now, if I look here, this is something very accurate. This is like the exact neighborhoods. This is satellite imagery. But if I want to really compare this to X-Plane, other than the fact that it's, you know, that this is actually not, that this is actually photoreal and X-Plane isn't, I find X-Plane to be really acceptable, guys. I really don't think that this particular, in this particular scene at least, I don't think that it really matters too much. The one thing you'll see here that you'll see, one of the immersion breakers, I think, is you can see there is traffic moving here, but there's also the traffic parked from the satellite imagery. And this is just really, really bad in my opinion. One of the immersion breakers, for those of you who really pay attention to details. Now, we are at about 1,000 feet. Took a lot faster to get to 1,000 feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ease off on the throttle, and we're going to, again, in X-Plane, there is no damage like we've seen in X-Plane. And this is now the stall. All right. Again, it's not 100%. It's not 100%, but it stalls like it should. Let me try this again here. And we're just going to go. Okay, now that's more like it. And we just recover from the stall. Again, I really like this 172, and that was accurate stall behavior for the Cessna 172. Very, very nice aircraft to fly in Microsoft Flight Sim. Now you can see far in the distance there how things look like. Again, this is photoreal, beautiful reflections. The scene is a very convincing scene without a doubt. But if I compare this to X-Plane, I think X-Plane isn't bad at all, guys. Honestly think that X-Plane looks very good, very immersive. Yes, it's not photoreal. Can you make it photoreal? Yes, you can get ortho for XP, and it's free, and you can create your tiles and what have you. But what we're talking about here, by the way, we had the flaps at 10 for the stall, so I'm going to try to stall it again, and this time we are going to do it with the flaps retracted, because the dirty condition will definitely change, and sometimes, well, let's make the turn, and right before we get back, we will. All right, I'm going to also show you what happens when you crash. Now, if you turn the damage on in Microsoft Flight Sim, what is going to happen is that you will simply, the aircraft before hitting the ground will tell you that you've overstressed the aircraft, and therefore, you know, you have to start a new flight. All right, so let me do this here one more time, and we're going to just lose speed. There's the stall. And yeah, there you go. Again, very, very nice and very accurate. I'm going to ease off on the throttle here, and we're going to go flaps, approach flaps, and land back at Lima 52. Now, one of the things here, again, the wind is something almost non-existent in Microsoft Flight Sim. So weather is something they really need to work on, both visually and also in terms of the representation of the METAR in the actual sim to create a realistic experience. So there we go. Not a very good landing, of course. All right.
What a touchdown. My whole body was shaking.
Yeah, you bet. All right. So here is Microsoft Flight Sim, and we're back down at Lima 52. Again, notice, guys, the variety of the vegetation. This really makes for a very convincing scene and a very high fidelity immersive experience in this flight simulator. So I think this is an area where Microsoft really excels. Now, one thing that I do not like is this menu here. So when you go to the settings menu in Microsoft Flight Sim, there is a ton of things to configure, ton of things to change, and this is something I really don't like, to be honest. There's menus in menus, and it's it gets very confusing. Now, first glance, this looks really simple, right? Yeah. So if I go to the dynamic settings here, beg your pardon, global rendering. So these are all my settings here. I've got, I've turned this off, and then I have this one on medium. Everything else, character variety is on medium, but everything else is on ultra. So the one thing I really do not like in Microsoft Flight Sim is this here, the controls. Setting up your controls is one of the most daunting things. And, what is this developer mode and, radio flight control? And I mean, if I click here on the light, then it tells me exterior light. And then, you can come here and toggle those lights. So this is for the quadrant. This is, for example, the Boeing yoke. Now, I have set this up. I've managed to set everything up, but it's just so very confusing. To set things up in this. You can search by input, by the way, and then it scans. So if I click here, search, and then I'm on the Boeing yoke, and I click something there. So I move the elevator axis, and it will detect it, and it will tell me what it's doing here. And that's how you can assign things. You can also click here, and you can then do like primary, secondary. You can set the inverted axis. Just really and then you have to worry about your response curves and things like that. Just really very confusing. I don't know why you get all of these axes there. So just really a mess in terms of setting up your controls. Probably one of the most difficult things that really requires a tutorial is the user interface. Just really a job not very well done by Asobo and Microsoft when it comes to configuring your controls. So then you've got your assistants here. Obviously, I have everything turned off. So disable crash damage is yes, I've disabled this because if you turn this on, by the way, the minute you hit something, you have to start the flight over. So that is a big no-no. Disable aircraft stress damage. The same thing, and those three I have turned off, just so that you don't have. Oh, what happened to the aircraft there? All right. So overall, yeah, not bad, but not great in terms of the user interface and user experience. Visually, it looks beautiful. Functionally, it's a nightmare to set controls up in Microsoft Flight Sim. It takes a little bit of time to get used to it. So I explain is much easier with a much more refined experience overall. All right. So here I want to go back to the main menu. And I want to load up another aircraft that is a default aircraft. We're going to go to free flight. We're going to go to the menu. And let's see here. We have by the way, one of the most successful aircraft is the Saab, which I really like. But again, they all are. But I'm going to not take the Saab today. I'm going to take something else. So I'm going to take the... Let me take this one here, the Cup Crafter by Asobo Studio. We're going to save this, and we're going to go to... Where you guys want to go? Is there any specific airport? This is just much setting for me. Yeah, same thing for me, HD Sim. Setting up controls is easy. I don't think so. I think you've gotten used to it, John. I miss the world map and explain. I do too. LXGB Gibraltar. Okay, let's do that. LXGB Gibraltar Airport. And there we go. Ooh, this is actually one of the handcrafted airports in Microsoft Flight Sim. So I think it has already selected this as the runway for departure. All right, so we're going to say start flight, and that's going to start the aircraft with the engines running. Okay. Now, while this loads, let me just give you a little bit of insight into Microsoft Flight Sim. No, of course, I know, again, that you guys know I have an affinity for X-Plane, but let me tell you something about Microsoft Flight Sim. The add-ons or the payware aircrafts in Microsoft Flight Sim is in abundance, but there are few that I feel are just excellent, like the Black Square turbine aircraft, and the Black Square aircraft, generally speaking, are amazing. You've got also the A2A aircraft, which are just really, really amazing in terms of the realism, in terms of what they do. So those aircraft, I think things are loading there in the background. So let me just load things up here. For those aircraft specifically, I think they offer an extremely immersive experience in Microsoft Flight Sim. And I think for VFR flying, I don't think that X-Plane can compete when it comes to scenery. Okay, so I don't know why things are looking really bad, but yeah, now I think you can see the mountains there loading. Just taking a little bit of time for things to load here. Let me switch to the external view here real quick. Yeah, we can see, ooh, this looks really nice. Look at this yacht here. Looking very, very nice. Yeah, we'll just wait for the runways to load. This is another thing I don't like in Microsoft Flight Sim. Sometimes it takes time to load. I think now we have loaded the scene here, and we also have the lights. So actually we can come here, and so that we can take a look at the lights. Let me go to custom, and we can change this here a little bit. There we go. And now we'll have the scene during nighttime. All right. So this is, I think, because we have the... Yeah, that's okay. That's the flashlight. Okay. So we're going to just go. All right. Now here, you can see this is pretty much like the Cessna. No difference whatsoever on the physics handling. Again, no rudder control, nothing. And the minute I hit this just flies exactly like the Cessna. All default aircraft in Microsoft Flight Sim fly exactly the same. There is no respect for the flight model, the aircraft weight and balance, the aircraft size, wingspan. They all fly the same. Now, that is true for default aircraft, but the payware aircraft, such as the ones I've mentioned from A2A, Black Square, are just amazing. And they are, because they built their flight models outside of the, like they use AccuSim, for example, in A2A. And this runs in parallel to the sim, but completely independent of it. So this is what things look like. Night lighting in Microsoft Flight Sim is extremely exaggerated, I think. From higher altitudes, I think it looks really nice, but highly unrealistic night lighting and runway lights. But this looks really nice. Look at this here. Yeah, very, very nice. In terms of performance, of course, Microsoft Flight Sim being a next-gen sim makes much, much better use of your GPU, your CPU, as well as other resources on your computer. So, but does it provide a smoother experience than X-Plane? I don't think. I think they're pretty much the same in terms of how smooth they are. I haven't really had any issues. I do notice that there's more stuttering in Microsoft Flight Sim, though, even though it really, you know, harnesses the power of your PC and really can push things to the limit and provide you with stunning visuals. I still think that, you know, it sometimes stutters, especially when scenery is loading in the distance. So this is, again, a really nice night approach here into Gibraltar. There's some strange things going with the water, but you can see the water waves, again, done really nice here in Microsoft Flight Sim. And it definitely does provide for, you know, a very enjoyable experience when flying the right aircraft. The default ones, with exception with the 172, is just no game for me. So yeah, the default aircraft, though we have so many of them, I think they're just really, really bad. By the way, you saw the cars there crossing the street. Ground physics is a complete disaster in my view in Microsoft Flight Sim. It needs serious work because it's just the weather and the ground physics both need a lot of work. The flight model up in the air, I think, flight model is actually not bad, and it's actually pretty close to X-Plane, by the way. They don't trail behind by much, both in payware and in the default. But those little aircraft, they all fly the same. Just really a shame that they all fly the same. There's no difference whatsoever. And some of the big planes actually fly like this little GA. So yeah, very, very strange. Yeah, so I want to take you to another, so I want to, just like we did with, again, this is one thing that really annoys me in Microsoft Flight Sim, is the experience. Again, when you end the flight, you can't actually edit this flight like you do in X-Plane. So you have to always go back to the main menu and start over. Again, the number of clicks to get through to something is much higher in Microsoft Flight Sim than it is in X-Plane. And so I think from the experience perspective, I think X-Plane provides a much better experience for flight. Although this has more of a game look to it, I think it's just not very well designed user experience. The user interface is beautiful, but the user experience is definitely lacking. All right, we're going to go back to the aircraft tab here. I'm going to go all the way here, and one of the default aircraft, there's plenty, by the way, and I don't want to pick one of the any builds one. I want to pick maybe, let's see. There's the Beluga. This is one of the default. This is one of the default, the Airbus A400M. But this is, again, any build. So let's see here. All right. So this is an Asobo aircraft. And let's go and say configure. And then from here, we are going to go to livery. Let's pick something. That's the only one I have, suppose. Let's go to the variant. All right. So this is passenger. All right. Let's go to freighter and let's see what we have there in terms of liveries. Well, we don't have. We'll just pick the house livery for Boeing. We're going to go back. And we're going to go back. Now let's go to any particular airports. Defaulton will be a good one. Any particular airport that you guys like that you want us to take a look at? I never feel like I'm flying in MSFS. It feels like I'm pursuing and floating through Bing 3D landscape. Yeah, I kind of feel sometimes the same. But yeah, Seattle, okay, we can, LFLJ, well, not in a 747. Seattle, all right, looks like you guys want Seattle. All right, let's go to Seattle. That's Seattle. And that's Seattle Tacoma International Airport in the United States. This is, again, a handcrafted airport. No, this is, sorry, this is not handcrafted. This is, I think, by MK Studios, if I'm not mistaken. All right, we're going to put 34C. We're going to say set as departure, and we're going to say start flight. Okay. Now, I will tell you this right off the bat, guys. This departure for Microsoft Flight Sim is going to look stunning because Seattle area looks just amazing in Microsoft Flight Sim. And we're going to take it. We're going to witness this here. And then we are going to maybe take a look at just one more default aircraft. And then I will give you my remarks on Microsoft Flight Sim. Okay, so it's loading things up. The loading time in Microsoft Flight Sim can be very, very long. But in all honesty, I tested the loading time in X-Plane and in Microsoft Flight Sim, and I found them to be very close. The involved airports definitely take more time to load, and in both sims. Yeah, in X-Plane, you immediately get to the aircraft, so you're immediately in the cockpit. In Microsoft Flight Sim, they've got this cinematic thing that says start flight. So again, minimize clicks, Sobo. No, we don't need clicks. We just need to get to the info in the shortest possible way. I don't know why this is taking too long, but hopefully it will eventually load. So let's see, other than the A320, B737 that are in both sims at high quality, and some Cessnas, there are a lot of exclusive planes. Yeah. In MS 2024, many RMP landings, such as runway 27 in Phuket, cannot be performed because the airport data is incorrect. That is very true, yes. Very, very true. I've had actually that issue in Thailand, generally speaking, when I fly in Thailand. There's just way too many inconsistencies. All right. Now, this is, ladies and gents, a very nice looking scene of the 747. As you can see, beautiful cockpit. We're just going to wait for things to load. Again, this aircraft is currently being streamed live from the Asobo Microsoft service, so it will take a little bit of time for things to load. But you can see how this looks. I mean, it just looks so nice. The clouds look so nice. Overall, the scene is extremely immersive. I don't know how much this means to you guys, so how important it is. It looks like everything's broken here. All right, is this not running still? Well, the engine seems to be running. Yeah, all right, so everything's loaded now. So let's see here. We have our flaps set, and everything here is set. Okay. So let me actually switch to the outside view. And this actually looks really nice, doesn't it? All right, parking brake is released. Very nice sounds. Again, there's no weather element here. So the aircraft pretty much stays straight. Maybe just a little bit of rudder there.
V1.
All right, there's V1. And rotate. That looks nice. I have to say that this looks absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, very immersive. There you go. That's I know what guys like in Microsoft Flight Sim. This is what they like. This is a very realistic scene. But if I move, and this aircraft actually flies really nice as well. So hand flying this Boeing 747 is actually not bad. It's actually pretty fun aircraft to fly. And you feel, this is one of the aircraft that you actually feel is heavy. So I think this is probably another successful default aircraft in Microsoft Flight Sim, which can be very enjoyable. And this is again flying here over Seattle. This looks really, really nice, I have to say. The clouds, I don't know. They're okay. They're okay. But again, there's no variety in the clouds in Microsoft Flight Sim. They always look the same in terms of the variety, and the shape. So it's only those cumulus clouds that you can see, but there's no overcast condition, no cirrus clouds, nothing. So, yeah. But this actually looks pretty decent there. Very, very nice. Very immersive. Looks very realistic as well. And this is, ladies and gents, where I think Microsoft really excels, is the visuals department. Now, by the way, if you look at this aircraft here, you see that there is I like the input delay on the 7.4. I think it really feels like a heavy aircraft. And so maybe this is a more successful default aircraft in Microsoft Flight Sim, where I think, again, the famous mountain in Seattle, very nice looking aircraft, very nice looking scene, and very, very immersive. All right, I'm gonna do one more, and I'll let you guys pick both the aircraft and the location. So let me know where you want to go. And let me go here to the menu, and we are going to go to the aircraft. All right, so where do you guys want to go, and which aircraft would you like? I chill in my house cruise. Go to the Grand Canyon. Evan, can you give me the ICO code for the Grand Canyon? The one aircraft add-on I'm waiting for an X-plane is the High Fidelity 74400. The dream aircraft of my childhood. Unfortunately, there isn't one yet. I find the clouds too cartoonish and exaggerated in their depiction. Yes, they are. That's why I don't really like them that much. The A380 freeware is amazing. Yes, it is. We don't have any high fidelity 747 in MSFS. 152 KSLE. All right, KSLE. And which aircraft we want to go to? Oh, sorry, KGCN. All right, we're gonna go KGCN, and let's take. Let's see. Cessna. There's so many Cessnas there. All right, well, let's pick this one here. KGCN. Or. Hang on. All right, let's take the Saab. This is, by the way, one of my favorites in Microsoft Flight Sim when it comes to the default aircraft. I really like this one. Let's go to configure. And we are going to go to the passenger variant. Then we're going to go to the livery. And let's see, Rex Airlines, Frontier, white. We're going to pick white. Okay. And now we're going to go back, save and back. So many clicks. Just really annoying. All right, so KGCN. All right, there we go. Grand Canyon National Park. And this looks like a handcrafted area. But is there a runway there? There is no runway there, is there? Ah, there's the runway. Okay. So we are going to pick this one here. It was already selected, set as departure, and let's go start flight. Okay. So we're just going to give this a little bit here of a... You have lots of planes. Yeah, I think a lot of the default aircraft that comes with Microsoft Flight Sim, I just left them there. I think I need to remove them. You have installed the SimBrief plugin? No, I haven't. It saved me a lot of time. Yeah, I know that it's a very useful one, but I just haven't really bothered with it. Okay, so while this loads, where I think Microsoft Flight Sim excels is in the visuals department. And by the way, having said this, I don't think that it looks great, by the way, all the time. There are certain areas where it looks really good, and some areas where it looks even worse than X-Plane. And that is an honest, opinion of what I think about the scenery in Microsoft Flight Sim. The visuals of the aircraft, on the other hand, is second to none. I mean, those are photoreal textures. They get them from the real aircraft. They go and record real sounds as well from the real aircraft. And that really creates a very immersive experience in Microsoft Flight Sim. That is something I really, really like. Also, when it comes to VFR flying, I think this is where Microsoft Flight Sim really shines. And I think where they need to work on is the ground physics, flight model, the weather, and the weather both in terms of the weather representation, so how it looks, but also how it acts within the environment is something that I find extremely lacking. So I know that there are some add-ons in Microsoft Flight Sim that addresses some of these issues, and some of the aircraft that they have is just really very high fidelity. So this is actually an aircraft I really like a lot in Microsoft Flight Sim. The Saab, again, doesn't fly very different from anything else that I've tried, but I like the visuals of it. I think it looks really good, very representative of the actual aircraft. Again, it's taking time to load the overhead panel, but this is actually one of the best default aircrafts in Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. All right, let's go ahead and take off. It's got, again, nice sounds, very nice visuals of the aircraft. Again, ground physics is a disaster, but it's immersive, I have to say, you know, with the shake there from XP Realistic. Again, flies exactly the same as the Cessna. So just the little touch there and boom, it's up in the air. All right, let's do that. So, yeah, I mean, not bad. Again, very nice sounds there with the flaps. We're gonna head over there to the mountainous area. I think it looks really good, and then we're gonna. Yeah, this actually looks nice. I do like the shadows there on the grass. There, the vegetation on the trees. Beg your pardon. And I think overall the vegetation looks really good. I think the mountainous areas in Microsoft Flight Sim are probably among the best areas to fly over for realism. But yeah, this is what things look like. The outside, again, not very realistic in my view, but highly cinematic. Yeah, very cinematic. Until you get to the mountains there ahead, I think it looks start to look really nice. But yeah, this is again a very nice aircraft to fly in Microsoft Flight Sim. Highly recommended if you have Microsoft Flight Sim to try it out, because it really is a fun aircraft to fly. But in terms of the model, as you can see here, this is exactly how the Cessna 172 flies. No difference whatsoever. They all fly the same. Very frustrating. But this one is an enjoyable aircraft to fly because of its visuals, and because it's the only Saab that you have today that you can actually enjoy with very high quality visuals. There, I think this here, you can see here how this is looking now very realistic. Yeah, definitely looking wow. This is the wow factor right there in Microsoft Flight Sim. Very immersive scene here as we go and fly in the Grand Canyon. Look at this beautiful scenery here, guys. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to the visuals in Microsoft Flight Sim. The visuals are just really stunning, especially in mountainous areas, and especially in the USA, by the way. Looks really good. Well, I think we have summed it up where X-Plane excels, where it lacks, where Microsoft Flight Sim excels, and where it lacks. But there's one more thing that we need to discuss, which is Asobo and Microsoft as a company. And quite frankly, guys, I haven't had interactions with those companies, a close interaction with them, like I did with Lancair. But I know that one of the things that Asobo and Microsoft has done very well is how they have interacted with the community. They are today much closer to the community than X-Plane or any other, flight sim provider, flight sim platform provider. Of course, the attribution goes to the large size of staff that they've got, and obviously they are very resourceful. They have big pockets there they can spend on, having, dedicated people interacting with the community. However, what is something that I do not like in the overall philosophy is that the Microsoft Flight Sim franchise has become more of a game rather than a sim. All the strategy, all the actions that we're seeing on the ground suggest that the focus of Microsoft and Asobo is really on Xbox. Xbox is a gaming console, and they are really trying their very best to maximize the revenues and the profits from selling game passes, selling different versions, the premium deluxe, premium this, premium that, aviator edition. I do not like that, and I do not like it at all, especially when you see all the aircraft in Microsoft Flight Sim fly pretty much the same, the default ones. So they've created all of these just as part of their strategy to lure, folks into buying different versions. I do not agree with this philosophy. I really like what Lancair has done. Look, it's one price for the sim. It's all inclusive. It includes everything. There's nothing else that you need to pay to get all the aircraft there. The price thing is a very sensitive thing when it comes to the flight sim community. And I think overall, X-Plane has done a much better job in terms of their pricing strategy. And they have only recently increased their prices. The X-Plane was under $60 for years. And I think the change that they've done was long overdue. But with Asobo and Microsoft, we also have seen the disastrous release of 2024. And all of the things that were promised were not delivered on launch, although they are correcting this now. But I think it still leaves a little bit of bitter taste into every flight simmer who was really betting on Microsoft. Well, I think we have discussed everything, including the companies and flight sim. If there is anything specific, I'm more than happy to go through it in another stream. Maybe we'll take it through in later streams, or maybe I can make videos on specific topics. Please, if you are watching this, you can definitely put comments in the comment section. I do apologize for not being very responsive to chat today, but I really didn't want to cut the sequence. I didn't want my chain of thought to drift too much, so that I can provide a streamlined live stream that people can benefit from, even after after a rerun or during a rerun. So I do apologize for that, and I do want to thank you very much for the support. Well, some things you didn't say, Sam, but I don't have the several petabytes I would need. Well, some things you didn't say. All right, well, go ahead. Let me know what you have. Maybe we can address some of these things here. MSFS 2024 has a flight planner. That is true, yes, and it's got a really good one, I have to say. I agree. The $60 on XP was the best I have done. The 120 purposes was a waste. I also free Lido charts. XP is nothing to of the sort. Yes, that's very true. That is very, very true. Some people don't want to play $100. a year to Navigraph. I agree with you. Yeah. Yes, I think this is a very valid point, Mr. Valero, and I appreciate you bringing this up. So this is one thing that is very powerful, I think, in Microsoft Flight Sim is the flight planning capability. Selects your SIDs, your stars. The ARAC database is not always up to date, but it's there for you to use. And they've got the external flight planner as well, which you can use and then load it in the sim. They do also, by the way, have the flight, the EFB here, which is a nice touch there with the pilot book here. You can do the load and balance, and you have your flight planner there. You've got your settings there where you can set things up. Again, visually, very, very nice. The user interface is very nice. The user experience is lacking, like I said. But yeah, that's a really good point. But in the end, guys, what I'd like to really sum up this stream with, like the closing remark, is there is no such thing as the better sim, because what you want is very different from what I want, for example. So what I want, for example, is I want a sim that is a true-to-life representation of real life. So that's really what I want. I want something that feels like real life. Is X-Plane 100% real life? Absolutely not. Is Microsoft Flight Sim 100% real life? Absolutely not. But that is what I'm looking for. But that's very different from, for example, what Carl is looking for. Let's suppose that Carl likes VFR flying, and he really likes to practice, for example, flying over the state of California, and he wants to specifically fly from, let's say, a general aviation airport in Bakersfield to, let's say, Sonoma in San Francisco. So he wants to... The Microsoft Flight Sim is going to allow him to apply what he's learned in real life, visual flight rule in Microsoft Flight Sim, without any add-ons, without anything out of the box. He can just get there, and the charts, his Navigraph charts, are going to match what he sees in this sim, because the mountains, the rivers, the streets are all there, and they are being mapped directly from, Bing Maps. In X-Plane, that is going to be a very difficult mission unless you install additional software and additional scenery in order to enhance the visual experience and make it look, like real life. So from that perspective, this business case, or this use case, not business case, now this use case is in favor of Microsoft. No question, hands down. So we can't say here that X-Plane is better just because, it's got a better flight model, which it does have. But I think what we can say here is for this specific use case, Microsoft Flight wins because it offers the user or the flight simmer exactly what he wants. The priority is that I have a world that looks like the real world so that I can do my VFR flight. And that is then an accurate, the choice obviously would be Microsoft, including myself, if that was my business case. But if I wanted something that feels like real life in terms of flying, and I didn't really care what the world looked like, because I really want to focus on, doing side slips, I want to do stalls, I want to do like an IFR flight, I want to bring, a 747 into very heavy crosswind at JFK, and I want a sim that looks reasonably well, then X-Plane is definitely the choice because it's got the more accurate flight model and ground physics, and the representation of weather and the actual weather interpolation into the sim, or interpretation of the weather in the sim, is far more accurate than it is in Microsoft Flight Sim. And therefore, for this use case, X-Plane becomes the better choice. My recommendation, if you can afford it, get both, because each one of them is going to serve a different use case for you. at some point, maybe you get fed up of, you know, those crosswind landings, and now you want to try VFR flight. And the better sim would definitely be Microsoft. So this is I'm going to really conclude my stream here. I hope that you guys have found this useful. I hope that it was insightful for you. And I hope that I was able to remain as objective as possible and really give you, you know, a avid flight simmer insight into both Microsoft Flight Sim and X-Plane 12. This brings us to the conclusion of this live stream. I hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed streaming it for you. Until next time, please take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you all very soon. Have a pleasant day, guys, and bye-bye for now.